This is a meeting of the landscape subcommittee for the PPAC. Call this meeting to order. We do, first thing I guess we do is pledge allegiance.
I
do that.
All right. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing we'd like to do is roll call. Mark Eversman here. Steve Keller here.
Cindy Watterson here. Nancy Smith here.
And Keith Riddle, Public Works Director, Gateway.
And first order of business would be public comment.
We do have one person for public comment. If you want to stand up and introduce yourself for the
You can
recording.
just come over here.
Yeah. Very,
It's all recorded.
very informative.
That's fine. Steven Citron, I'm from Carina, I'm also board director in Carina and landscape chair. This is involving the landscape, the proposal for the $2,500 for the monument. Couple of quick questions were, one, Carina has 3 monuments. Is this $2,500 in total or for just one? Per monument?
It's one allocate. Well, and that's actually a topic we're going to talk about later, but we can get into it now. Part of the issue that we're going to try and deal with today is our budget for that is $15,000 for a year. I've already had 5 people that have been approved through the PPAC board to utilize those funds. And I have 5 more waiting. So obviously we're a little short this year for what the demand is. Well, no. What we're going to talk about is the possibility of going to the PPAC board and asking for additional funds. And we're also submitting a policy proposal, which they will discuss and finalize. And in that policy proposal is every community is eligible, but if you have received funding within the past 2 years, we're asking you not to apply for another 2 years. The $2,500 you could use for one monument or cul-de-sac, you could use it on all 3. We don't care. But it's one $2,500 allotment at this time per community.
The second part of this is, well, if we take this money to do enhancement, is PPAC still going to remain responsible for trimming, fertilizing, mulching, the flower plantings, or is that now going to convert to the local HOAs?
They are still ours. We are still responsible for them. The way this has evolved, and this was before I just started on this, but the way it seemed to have evolved is since the cul-de-sacs and monuments are somewhat buried within the HOAs, even though they're our responsibility, most of the HOAs have said, we kind of want a little personal say as to what happens with them going forward. And so the way of doing this is saying, you decide what you would like to do, and we will assist you with funding. But we are not relinquishing our responsibility by doing that. And you do not have to go to the ACC and say, this is what we want to do. We're still going to plant the annuals as we have done. I think that's a 3 times a year schedule. So I don't know if you have other questions beyond
That's
that.
the only question, basic question I have, and I appreciate your answer on it. Pretty much was the answer I was hoping for.
Okay.
The other thing, totally separate, is just to make sure that you're all aware of, and I would think you would be, of this lethal viral necrosis.
Yep, that's also something I was going to talk about.
Yeah, because when I spoke to Gateway about it yesterday.
Yeah, that's up to me.
Oh, okay. And he had told me about, what was going on. I know that Ameriscape is right now doing planning on how they're going to handle their equipment. Because I guess they have one crew and one set of mowers that does Prado, Pistoia, and Carina, another set of mowers that does Pelican, Comet, and the few other communities that they do.
Did you get copied in on the presentation announcement that they're doing?
Yes, and I've already signed up for that, yeah. But great, I thank you for your time.
And then one more thing, did you clarify with or Chelsea about the, if the HOAs want to paint their monument themselves, they can, just as long as they turn in receipts for the paint? That was,
According to Laura, she will not reimburse an HOA. She has no way of doing that. And she said that is so complicated. And what he's talking about is I had suggested the possibility is some HOAs get a group of homeowners together and they purchase plants, benches, flagpoles, whatever. And then they do it themselves.
you can get a lot more bang for your buck. that
Right.
way.
As opposed to having a contractor do it. I have approached Laura, who handles all the financial, makes the payments and such, and she says legally, we have no way to reimburse an HOA. If you are approved for the $2,500, a licensed contractor must submit an invoice to the
I've read that in notes in the package.
to GSCDD, and they will pay them. You don't pay them, and then we pay you. So that's the only way she can do it at this time.
But what if the common people do?
They can do anything.
But it's at our cost, I'm assuming.
You
So
won't get-
don't get the 20.
You won't get reimbursed.
Correct. And for instance, Bellagio renovated their cul-de-sac. I mean, a huge undertaking, benches, flagpole lit with a light and all kinds of stuff, but they did it themselves. And if you wish to do something at your cul-de-sac and it costs $3,000,
We can do
Then
that. And we pay.
you pay the last $5.
Totally understand that. P-PAC is going to be on the hook for $2,500 total. That's it. No more.
Correct.
Great. Thank you very much for your
All right.
time. this evening.
Good.
Thank you.
And someone has got it online.
Yeah,
They just-
Bruce Blatt is now online.
Right.
I would make a motion to allow Bruce's comments and voting to be allowed. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
Just because I heard something I hadn't heard before, I'm gonna speak up so George can hear me. Stoya, we have two circles that we're doing.
Those were.
Okay, I just
Well,
want to make sure we're
go
right.
ahead, go
We
ahead.
have two circles we're doing, and what we understood is it was $2,500 per.
And that was
Okay.
approved last year.
Okay,
That was before there was any policy. We weren't getting people.
That's right.
in. They're coming out of the woodwork
Okay.
now.
Moving forward, it would be 2,500.
Yeah.
we're so close to finalizing on this.
Yeah, no. You were approved by the board
Thank you.
last year. And what I'm talking about as far as you get one $2,500 payment, that's a policy that I have proposed to P-PAC, which they're supposed to discuss this afternoon.
Yes.
So you are grandfathered in before everybody wanted to.
Lucky you.
But if you do the work yourself, right, you still want reimbursed.
You don't, you won't.
No.
You only get the reimbursement if you hire someone.
If it, GSCDD needs an invoice from a licensed contractor to pay them. And I've asked Laura that
That's a shame.
question specifically.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
because,
Oh,
you can double your value easily.
Yeah.
and still get reimbursed.
I mean,
You know,
And it's a community effort and.
Yes.
and it brings the community
Yeah.
together, it's goodwill, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why Bellagio just went ahead and did their own. They said, forget it.
Yeah.
We want to
bless you.
But she has just said, no, that's not gonna happen.
That's a shame, even if I get it, but I don't
Well,
agree.
I even said, the way I would propose it being done is they go ahead, purchase the material, keep their receipts for the material. I would go ahead and inspect and make sure that material has been used as allocated and then pay them for that. Nope, it can't be done.
It's a simple cut and check to an HOA.
She cannot cut a check to an HOA at this point.
Let's just say it's not a done deal. Maybe, I would like to revisit that.
Okay.
I agree.
Well,
I
I'm just
second
saying,
that.
I can't
I've
make
tried
motions,
and
but-
so far it's not feasible at this point.
It's just like adding a new vendor.
Chelsea, the
Well-
director, is on board with it too, so.
Evidently, it's difficult to add a new vendor such as an HOA.
Yeah, it is. It's not
I'm-
impossible. But I think there may be some ways around it.
Right.
I
So
think
anyway.
Bruce had something.
Bruce, did you have something?
I just think it should be added that the vendor who does the work has to be vetted by Gateway Services. Isn't that
Oh,
correct?
yes.
Okay.
Yes, we review to make sure the work is done.
All vendors have a specific process they have to follow. They have to turn in insurance. Yeah, there's a whole process for getting a vendor approved to work here. W-9 insurance, the whole, yeah.
All right, I think that concludes the public comment part since there's no more public here. So we would now go to approval of minutes, which I haven't seen the minutes from the last meeting at this point.
I haven't seen the minutes. Hey, Georgia.
Yes,
What's the status on the minutes?
we did not have anybody to prepare them. I was assuming they were coming from the landscape group.
Yeah, the subcommittees. I forgot that. So yeah, the subcommittees prepare the minutes.
So she
currently.
records them, but we prepare them.
Yeah, I like that for the safety and security subcommittee. Dean prepares the minutes, right?
That's correct, and
How
Doug
did-
does it
what is-
for the ponds.
And Doug does them for the ponds. What do they use for note taking? Do they get our recordings or they just take their own notes?
They take their own notes currently. We are looking into having Infomark do them and that. So we're waiting to hear from them.
So could you please share the recording from the last meeting with Mark?
Yes, they're all
Act-
online on our YouTube.
Oh, they're on YouTube? On our
Mhm,
YouTube
all the
channel?
meetings get
Okay.
on, yep.
You guys can decide amongst yourselves who wants to do the minutes, but
So there's a link on the site to YouTube.
yeah, we have a YouTube page channel.
I didn't
Mhm.
realize it.
Every board meeting, everything is all on there. Very entertaining.
I'm sure it is.
Thanks, Georgia.
So we will address minutes.
You're welcome.
At a future meeting. Financial report, which I haven't gotten anything new from Laura since our last meeting, except for something which is actually fairly substantial that happened, is in talking to Jennifer Lewis, who is the property manager here. They also use Ameriscape for their landscape, and Ameriscape questioned her and they said, there's a lot of old invoices that are outstanding. We'd like to get paid for those. And she said, send me a list. And Ameriscape sent her a list. And a section of that list was GSCDD invoices that are unpaid starting in October. And when you total up those invoices, and this is work that's done, it's not proposed, it was $197,000.
So the GSDD
Yes,
assets,
And
yes,
just trying to collect it now.
yes.
did they not submit the invoices? to
Well,
council?
Laura's looking into that because, all right, the first budget thing I saw was last month. And when I saw that, I was surprised that we had that much money in our budget because since October, it was around October that I was given the ability to approve invoices. And I would get a note from Julie.
Julie Fritz, yeah.
Yeah. And say, you approve this. I would go out, check Ameriscape.
Mhm.
And if they had done what they were supposed to, yes, I approve this invoice.
That's our process now.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
And so that's what I was doing. And with the hurricane cleanup and all that kind of stuff, some decent sized invoices came through. So when I see my budget it said, how'd we only use $1,250?
Yeah.
I don't get it. But again, being new to this, it's like, well, maybe there's another area they drew funds from. I don't know. I'm just going by what I was given. Well, now this past unknown amount hits us. So Laura is working through that.
It sounds like it was a problem during the transition from Castle to KW, when
Well,
things may have fallen through the cracks.
Again, what I don't understand is I would get the email from Julie respond to all of them, so.
When did you start remember we had a meeting?
October.
Yeah, we had a meeting, we set the precedents for invoicing. That's when you were actually started that process a little bit before that though. Didn't you?
No, I wasn't here in
No, okay,
September.
okay, so I wasn't here. I started in September too, so I'm not sure what the invoicing procedure was prior to how
So
we're doing it now.
when I would copy all, which included Ameriscape, Julie, and accounts receivable, and Laura, I kind of assumed that
Yeah,
it
that was
would be
it.
done, but evidently, for whatever reason,
Hmm.
it didn't.
Okay,
So Laura she had PTO the first part of this week,
you
and
just got
so
back yesterday.
she had hoped to have something yesterday, but didn't receive anything. So we're waiting to find out what that's
Really,
gonna
it
be.
is less than
I wouldn't
budget.
be surprised either if they actually were paid. And it's a error on their side of
Well-
things, because, yeah,
Once again, I don't see that money missing if that was supposed to be coming out of my budget.
right.
There's not $197,000 gone.
I see.
Which line item is this from the budget? Plants, trees, line?
That it can be
Breaking
from.
down, yeah.
Yeah, we can move that money around if we need to.
Curious.
So,
Meriscape alone is about $1 million a year, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I think it's like 855,000 for their contract. So,
Yeah, you had a lot of money left when you gave the budget update. Remember
Yeah.
this meeting?
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of odd when you were so far into the
Yes.
fiscal year.
a
and
lot of
like I
hurricane-
said, and most of those funds went to hurricane cleanup.
Mhm.
So that's where I was kind of like, well, maybe there's a separate area that takes care of that.
Laura will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I
Will
promise.
that be cleaned up by the March meeting?
Yeah.
And then we'll have an update.
Certainly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she thought she would have some of that done for today and she just was back yesterday, so. So the financials are questionable at this point as to where we actually are. Any questions on that?
Mm-mm.
Any answers on that? Items for discussion. We've already gone into the monuments, monument plantings and Pelican Preserve with the public comments. I sent that out to all of you and I got comments back from Nancy and I got a comment from Bruce Blatt. And quite truthfully, I lost yours, but I remembered part of it.
I don't remember.
Anyway, so I incorporated part of what you said and I incorporated what Bruce had requested, and that was the 2-year, if I give you money, don't come back for 2 years. Give us time to give money to other people. So, and I'm on the board's agenda this afternoon. Previously, there was no policy. And so I was asked to write one. So that's,
So just to be clear, we can respond to email. I thought we had to do it here. That was,
everything went through Georgia.
okay,
Yep.
got it. So as long as she's on the email, we can go back and forth.
Send to her only.
Well, you send it to her, she said it.
Got it.
Mhm.
A little
Okay.
cumbersome, but
That's why I didn't respond. I thought it was a group talk when we have to do this. So going forward, I got it.
so. Are there any other questions? I mean, we kind of had the discussion already with Karina as far as monument,
Do we know how many monuments there are?
monuments and cul-de-sacs, according to the list, I got 70.
And do we think 2 years is long enough in order to rotate?
Well, a lot of people are okay with
Okay,
theirs.
okay.
And it still says it's first come, first serve, but if you are a recent recipient, I'm going to take somebody else that
Okay.
hasn't gotten funding before.
The only problem with that is say I put one in this year and now I have to wait 2 years and it dies. What happens then? You're not on the list. You can't even be considered. but
Well,
yet you're
you can be
monument,
put on the list.
But you're not gonna be considered for this, not the 2-year period.
Well, if it's done with a contractor, hopefully there's a guarantee.
No. She's saying she can't get it done for 2 years. And
No, I'm saying, I do it today.
Yeah,
And then a hurricane comes through or we have bad storms, something happens to the planning, not based on maintenance. This
Okay.
is something else happens in the world. I can't be on that list for 2 years. Then my
Okay.
monuments,
yeah, I know that
yeah,
if we have
can't control it.
requests we just cannot.
Right. Now, do you keep a list of who and date that they're done?
I need
Someone,
to make a formal list. Right now, I just saved the emails as to when they came in from.
that's my suggestion, that we
The other
have a
thing
formal list.
Somebody suggested, and maybe you, is, I want the request to come from the HOA president. Because I get requests from 3 different people out of the same neighborhood, and it's kind of like, okay,
You have to have control.
and,
Great.
Were you all privy to the policy that's written, that's going to the board? You guys all got that, right?
I'm sorry, what?
they didn't.
The policy that's actually going to the board
Notice?
today? Yeah, that's
Is
it.
that's what,
That's on
what's
the,
the
That's
date on
what you
that?
that's on the,
want.
There is since I got comments from Nancy as far as it should come from the president of the board, and I also had a singular verb versus a plural verb.
So or a representative is gonna be crossed out, because it says HOA president or a representative designated by them.
At this point, I haven't. And I know you had suggested, that was the one I missed.
I mean, I don't even remember suggesting that, but okay. It's possible.
says that- I have what's on the agenda open.
Yeah.
It says the HAO president or a representative designated
Yeah.
by them should contact DPAC to request the funding for their
And the
project.
reason I left designated in there, the landscape committees within HOAs, and if they designate a person as opposed to the
Mhm.
president. I'm okay with that. I just can't handle 2 to 3 different people from the same HOA saying, ours looks like crap, I want money.
So as far as keeping a complete list, should that be in here as well? Because this is gonna be policy that we should, if I request it and I forget, and you're going back for an email, wouldn't it be nice just to say, here's the
I
list.
need to create a list. I don't know if we need to put it in the policy, but as long as they make the request, I think they have fulfilled their end of it.
Mhm.
And I think that's what the policy is meant to do. That was what I was going to present to the president's meeting, which they scheduled for me right now. We never used to get hardly any requests. Nobody really even knew about it, and the word has gone out. And we've got,
Money.
and part of the problem is, and it's not your fault, we got requests for 4 last year. We approved them and they haven't done them yet. And then that money gets taken away because you start a brand new budget year. Now we start the budget year and 4 of those spots are already gone.
Maybe there should be something in this about.
Yeah, but.
You use it or lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought about that, but what is an appropriate time frame
I
to
put
allow?
fiscal year.
I would definitely put fiscal year,
Yeah.
because how fair is it to take it out of next year's budget because they didn't get the work done?
That our fiscal year goes up, starts in October.
Right.
So if you submit in September, you have to have it done by October. I'm
Yeah,
just
I
asking,
agree with you.
because,
Good point.
and Nancy, I think will attest to this, because she's going, it takes a long time to kind of get everything together and moving forward, and
Guess you could say 1 year from now.
Yes.
Originally started, but basically what happened over a period of time, there was a lot of conversation and no action. When it came to me this year, there's a lot of action and very little conversation going on. So we'll get it done in this fiscal year, but I agree. I mean, I think you have to put a little bit of fire under people's
It
feet.
has to be a requirement.
and I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just struggling as to what is appropriate, because I can tell you Vincenza has gone through the correct motions. They contacted me, and this also was last year. They contacted me, said, here's what I think we want to do. Can you come out? I came out and I said, what do you want? I said, we want to redo this cul-de-sac. Great. You can have $2,500, because at that point they were the third one.
Right.
I said, I'll get it approved, which the board did. They are just now doing it. And I mean, this was like 8 months ago.
Because there's no set requirement.
Yeah.
I know, but this is a group
Open-ended.
of volunteers, and I know we are too. to get them together and to get them to decide, and then you have
Maybe that
contracts.
should be done before they come to you.
Bob, I think it would be fair from the time it's approved to give them 1 year to complete. It doesn't matter which quarter, 1 year to complete.
I don't agree with that because now you're gonna take money out of next year's fiscal
I don't think
budget.
you're gonna get away from it. If somebody makes a request in July,
But if they know, did they plan their request then? Hey, this is our fiscal year. This is the money that you have to spend between September and October. So if you apply in July, you now know it has to be completed by October or you lose your approval. Because you can't keep running fiscal year. You're borrowing money out of next year's budget for people
and
that,
I understand that, but I'm also trying to recognize these HOAs are not a smooth running machine necessarily. And
but what is the delay? The people not making the decision?
well, part of it is, I think it took 3 months for them to decide what they wanted to do.
Should
Then they go out and they get bids from contractors, which can take 1 to 2 months.
Right.
And then they have to decide which contractor they're going to go with, which is up to them. We don't care. And then everybody is confused about the process, which is why I wanted to talk at the president's meeting that they just send in the invoice to the GSCDD or pay the contractor sends it in. So I mean,
Would there be better process of them? All the process you discussed before they ask you.
and that's why I wanted to talk to at the president's meeting. So at least the presidents understand what the process is. Because right now, it's just like this guy from Green.
Yeah.
I'm not faulting him, but this was all done previously. It's like they would just call Scott Sharnoff. He'd say, okay. I don't think he got board approval. He just took it out of the appropriate area of the budget and did it. So now we're trying to,
You have to have a little more control of the process because it's just willy-nilly. It could
Well-
take them 6 months to get to the point after you've said approval.
easily.
So do that first, then come to you for the
Well,
approval.
Their thing is, I want to know if I'm going to get money
Right?
before I line anything up.
I understand.
And then if they go through the quote process and now they don't get the money yet, now their quotes are
quote's
only
no
So
good.
it's not good.
Yeah.
No, I still think you need a time frame. How can you take from 1 year's budget to the next? That doesn't seem right. Like you didn't, for various reasons, didn't finish the project. So now someone that has an opportunity out of this year's budget doesn't get it because that money's spent.
That
That's
might be a
not-
good question for Laura,
It's
actually.
not right.
Can we transfer the previously allocated money unused to the next year's budget
Well,
and increase that budget by that?
we talked about
Yeah.
that at the last PPAC meeting. And the comment, I thought it was that meeting and the comment, no, it was this
Just this
meeting.
meeting,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't do that. Any money that's left over, general funds.
but you
That's
had,
those two.
they said if you contact them, they will move.
They will. move
I
it.
have it in my notes. Oh, yeah. I take
Well,
notes on
funds
everything.
is- funds is the only-
But we
So
did,
the
I put
money's
it as
there.
the action.
It's thrown into reserve. It's there, so it would just be a request to transfer
Well,
and hopefully
And
it goes
that's-
somewhere else.
What you have to do
So-
August through September, make.
Well, what I would like to do today is request additional funds out of reserves to honor some of the requests that have now come in. You know what I mean?
I do. I just really think we need a policy going forward that we don't want to be on this where we would have to request funds.
No, no,
because things
I-
are done.
I'm not,
This year's.
What if it takes
gone.
2 years?
Yeah.
We gotta draw a line.
3 years and
Okay.
that one gets approved.
what does this group feel is an appropriate time frame that we can agree on to give them?
Ask a question anyway. Have we considered the fact that we don't have enough money in the budget, like for next year, we asked for more to try to cover more? Let me start there.
But every time we ask for increase, we get an increase. But the more money you want in your budget, someone's gonna pay for that,
Well,
right? Ultimately,
it's your
someone.
tax dollars.
Right.
Yeah, so
Seems like 70 monuments and $15,000 can go.
But the part, people talk, and until this year,
Right.
very little monument work got done. and 15,000 was more than adequate. Now people are starting to talk and it's like, well, if I can get $2,500 free, let's redo our monument. And quite truthfully, a lot of them do look shabby. I mean, they haven't been touched in 15 to 20 years. I'm not disputing that fact.
$175,000.
In the
Yeah,
reserve.
to do them all, which, like I said, Portofino has done theirs. We don't, well, our monument could do some work. But Monticello just has requested, and they want $1,500. They're happy with that. Bellagio just went ahead and did their own. They said, we don't even want to deal with you guys. We're just going to do our own.
Right.
So, and a lot of people, I don't think, really care that much about their cul-de-sacs. But
And the other people that don't know. They haven't gotten the word of mouth yet.
so
Timeframe?
what I have done with all the additional requests is said, I'm out of money this year. And until I get more money approved, or we go into next year's budget, I don't have it. And they've all been pretty understanding, except for one. He goes, I want to do mine now. And it's like, did you not get my last email that you responded to? That's another story. Yes,
For next year.
or whenever they can do it.
Well, it
Yes.
is next year, because
Right. Right. But it was my hope that this group would approve going to the board and requesting more funds
From the reserve.
from the
I think
reserve.
that's a perfectly fine idea. Since we're just getting this started and we're behind the ball already.
And again,
How many do you have that are completed that the money is allocated for?
I mean, I have two, and it will be completed.
and Vincenza is a third,
Okay, so there's 5,000.
three, and we've
7,500 out of
And-
next year's budget.
via. No, those are against this year's budget.
No, she
It's
didn't.
not, if it's not completed, it's gonna go up, right? Into next year's budget, but if it's not done by October,
Right,
it goes into next year's budget.
right,
Unless we get them to move it into.
right.
Okay.
And then we approved Viadana and Matarita 2. Those were the next ones in. Then the surprise one I got was Portofino. John Grega is the president of our board, and he looks at me, he goes, did we get our $2,500? And it's like, did you apply? And he goes, I don't know, I don't think so. And it's like,
I think it's safe to assume that moving forward, everybody's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because now. they
so
know
anyway,
we-
that's kind of a
Works
wild
out.
card that's hanging out there that I don't know if they're gonna,
And it's,
but that was done 8 months ago.
The monument?
it's like,
Yeah, the one in front of,
Okay, the cul-de-sac
yes.
monument.
That's all. So the 5 that are officially approved were approved by the board, were 2 in Nancy's area.
Mhm.
Vincenza, Matarita 2, and Viadana.
So 3 are already in process, but not done, and 2 more approved.
3 are in process, and I don't know where Matarita 2 and Viadana are in there. They were just approved at the last monthly meeting for the PPAC.
I think you might want to consider asking for more money because it'll take 12 years to do all 70.
Well, and that's what I would like to do. So what recommendation does this group have as far as how many do you think we should try and get approval for?
You have to be a set budget. You know,
No, this is an addition, this is an add-in to the budget to just try and catch us up a little bit from where we are right now. And I would go for like 8. That'll allow me to get rid of the 5 that are sitting there waiting. And then we have 3 more at our disposal, because I'm assuming we'll get at least 3 more to come in before the end of the year. So hopefully next year, then we can start with a fairly clean slate and not be behind the eight ball before we even start. But I still want to revisit what we were discussing earlier is we need some kind of sunset on this so they can't say 3 years later, okay, I'm done now, give me my money.
In the beginning of the year, people ask, we give them till the end of the budget year, but I think after that 6 months, if they apply, I don't think 6 months is long enough. I think it's gonna be the same. That's why I suggested the 1 year from request.
What if you made another provision to where they had to have their applications in by a certain amount of time? If they have to have their applications in the first 2 months of a fiscal year.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because I don't know if we're allowed to email all the HOA presidents and give them this time frame and say you have to do
Well,
this.
eventually I'll end up talking at the president's meeting and they'll
Yeah.
already know I'm supposed to do it.
Well, this would, if this will be a policy, of course, again, would go to PPAC and then PPAC, it'll go to the board. So everybody will have an opportunity to be
So-
informed.
You would have to let them know it starts in October. If you want to be considered for 2024, you have to have it in by December.
And you have to
And
have
we
it
have to have
done
it done
by.
by October.
Exactly.
I think that's a good,
So you want to make a motion on that for approval?
I'll motion.
I second.
All right, we have a motion out there where if someone wishes funding for cul-de-sacs and monuments, the request must be made in October, November, December, first quarter,
Of the fiscal.
and it must be completed by the following October,
By the end of fiscal year.
by the end of fiscal year.
Yeah.
All right, Ruby. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All those opposed?
Bruce, wait.
I'm good.
He's good. Yeah.
Motion passes. All right.
That gives you control and they're now bound by that timeframe.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna have, I mean, if you put this list together of requests, granted dates, completion dates, then every year, September, you're gonna have to look at that and make sure you roll over that budget money. You know, so that we
And
don't
again,
lose it.
I think the process will work better once we can inform the presidents that this is how it works.
Yeah.
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 Because I
But I'm
think,
sure we'll get 20 requests.
yes, there's one thing I think Pelican Preserve in general needs, it's clarity on a lot of issues.
And,
Can I-
and people like timeframes.
Yeah.
Then you're
Yeah.
bound by something.
What did you
Could I-
say, Bruce?
Could I just add one thing as far as monuments? Is there a standard? I mean, let me be devil's advocate. I would like my monument to match the color of my eyes. So can I paint it blue?
No, the colors are standard. at this
Okay, I
point.
think we should make that clear.
Well, I'm trying to stay out of the painting of the monuments.
Yeah.
The monument color and design should be in your development order and of your HOA.
It's the same as with your house. You
Yeah.
can't paint your house any
Yeah.
color.
Okay, thanks a lot. I didn't know that.
You might be getting a call, the GSCDD might be getting a call from a guy named Ron Hudson. He lives at one of the circles that we're doing for design. The neighbors around that circle, there's only 6 or 8 houses. He came out one day and told me that it's their monument and they want to be involved in the design, blah, blah. And I said, listen, we have the final design, we're happy to share it with everyone. But one of the requests he made is, he said that people are, and I don't believe this, but he said people are driving over to that cul-de-sac. They're letting the dogs pee and poop in that cul-de-sac, and that they want something planted that would deter the animals from coming in. And basically what I told him is, we will not plant anything that's harmful to animals. If you see someone, an animal defecating out, take a picture, send it to our HOA, and we'll try to track it down and send it a letter. I explained to him that they don't own it. It's owned by the GSCDD. And he said, well, I'm gonna call them. I said, you're more than welcome, but I don't think they're going to
Which street is this?
respond any differently than me. It's Cata, Lucia, I have to look at the picture. I never remember.
Still unprepared because I will be getting the call.
Yeah, so let me give you the name of the street. Give me 1 second, because I
Always good to get a heads up.
was telling that I actually had to take a picture.
That was the perfect answer though,
It's not.
Nancy. So
Thank you.
Enjoy it, do well.
Gentlemen's.
Okay.
Looks like we're on here. It's coming. Oh, here it is. CANTANZARO Port. And the guy's name is Ronald Hudson. So
okay.
and I did put it in writing, and if you want to see what I wrote to him, I can forward it to Georgia.
If he calls, I'll call you
Okay,
or email you.
that's why I.
Request, this is gonna be the policy, correct?
Well, with the addition of
The
the
fiscal
first
year.
3 months.
Great.
Maybe you could ask someone to, who's our liaison? Oh, it's Carol, right? Carol's our liaison. Yeah, it's Carol. Maybe someone could walk it on in addition to today, so we don't have to go back to the board again, and wait another.
Well, I was gonna talk to the PPAC board.
That's what I'm talking about.
today.
Yeah, if you can get somebody to walk this provision onto the agenda item, because it's not on the policy
Yeah.
now.
Oh, to add this.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Yeah, okay,
I
That way we don't have to
plan
wait
on going
another
to the meeting this afternoon, talk about it.
okay. Yeah, that way you don't have to wait another PPAC meeting to get
To
that
get it
part of
approved.
it.
Right.
Yeah,
Approval done.
good progress. Okay, what do we got?
All right.
Not to be.
The next B, and that is path going forward. I mean, a big reason why this group was formed originally was because a lot of the landscaping along PPAC property is old. It's tired, it needs to be rejuvenated. And we actually started that with Scott Sherman. We did some projects coming in to the four-way stop. And that's as far as we got. Then it's come down to, we don't know what is exactly ours. There's still a lot of discussion, and I'm hesitant to go forward until we get those maps. They're coming up in 2 weeks for the last 3 months.
Yeah,
So a path going forward, I've always said, my vision was to basically chunk out what is our responsibility. I would start out at tree line again with this group. Already did one swipe with just Scott Charnot. And anyway, go through with this group because there's some areas that still could be improved. And we just work our way down Pelican Preserve Boulevard till we get to the bridge. And I would think we could do that in 2 swaths. Once we get those done, and we start heading down Cypress Grove with the same mentality, let's just keep taking a section at a time. That was how I envisioned doing this, but I really don't want to start this until we get those maps.
I think the first step, because we are waiting on these maps, I think a good first step was to write a policy. Because you want this to be a continuing effort for the community moving forward. So the policy and the approach to the policy is, what are you trying to accomplish here? You're trying to accomplish a standard for the landscaping and a time frame for replacement, or a condition of the plannings for replacement.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of throwing ideas
And-
what it's trying to accomplish.
Just off the top of my head, but we haven't actually been able to accomplish this yet because,
We don't know the areas.
well,
Wow.
we tried it with Scott Sherman and it worked okay. Ameriscape was the selected vendor for that, but it took them like 4 months. You know, it's kind of like, okay, nothing's happening. And then one day part of it would be done. And then 2 months later, another part of it was be done. And
Mhm.
so I don't know how to put a policy in place where you have timeframes when you're dependent on the contractors. And if you
The
select,
policy would be more of a landscape standard.
all right, what I'll do is I'll attempt to write something up, and it's gonna be very rudimentary. I'll send it to Georgia. Everybody take a shot at
Is
wordsmithing.
this all community policy? That we're trying to have conservation from what's not-
Thought you were.
Well, it doesn't necessarily,
Lifespan.
it's
Right.
not like we're ripping everything out. We're trying to take out plants that are just old and tired and don't look good anymore. And we don't even have to replace everything that we take out. And I wouldn't want to replace everything taken out. But we are going to be reaching a point shortly, if we still have money in our budget, where we need to replace some of the trees that were taken out by the hurricane. Because residents are asking about that. Ameriscape has been given the approval to go ahead and take the stumps out. But again, they were given the approval a month ago, and I don't think they've started taking stumps out yet.
Do we not have contracts with Ameriscape, and can't you put a date of completion in a contract?
We have contracts with Ameriscape for the general maintenance.
Right.
The stump removal, they have money in their contract to say, if you ask me to take out a stump, this is probably what I'm going to charge you. And I thought that was fairly high. Now, so they sent a proposal to me, to us, whatever. I got it. And I said, that looks way too high. And I called another vendor, which we can do for something like that. And he said, well, I would probably be about this much, depending on what you're telling me.
Yeah.
So I went back to Ameriscape and I said, I'm sorry, I will not accept your proposal because it's far too high compared to what I'm getting. He goes, let me take another look at it. And suddenly it dropped by, it was 250 a stump and it went to 150 a stump.
And they
which-
probably sub it to somebody else anyway. Do they have a
I
stump
don't
grinder?
It's always.
I think they probably do their own. And my hesitancy in using another vendor is irrigation is involved with every stump. And so then I would still have to have Ameriscape come back in
It's gonna be
to
a point.
cap off the irrigation.
She said at that point.
Yeah, and so
But
they
if
usually
you
don't go.
submit your request to Ameriscape for this extra work, because I understand you have a contract with Ready to Skill. When you submit it, how is it submitted to them
They actually submitted it to us,
to remove the stumps?
correct?
Well, no, you mean how it was requested?
Yes.
Yeah, how was it requested?
No, Ameriscape took it upon
Oh, really?
themselves to send in a proposal.
Hmm.
And
That's not normal.
quite truthfully, I think they were used to when Scott Charnock was here, they would send in a proposal and I think Scott would say, go.
Hmm.
As long as there's money in the budget, go.
But at least you have the proposal.
Yes.
So on the proposal, can you not fight a timeframe?
Mhm.
Because you are
We-
agreeing, that's like a legal document to say, okay, we agreed to do this.
We should be doing that in the past. It hasn't been done.
But I mean, go forward, that's what we're putting in policy, right, in place. Just
And,
coming from a business standpoint,
Yeah.
that's what I would.
but it's also going to depend on the size of the project too, because some of these could be fairly substantial.
Mhm.
But I think in the past, and if I'm not correct, please mention this, Mark. I sat in a meeting last year of the Landscape Committee where Ameriscape, they had just had their contract renewed and it was a meet and greet. And they were telling us, how they're trying to improve on their service. And they actually admitted to us in an open meeting where they said Scott had never walked the property with them. And if you recall, Mark, there's no oversight with Ameriscape. And I think that's part of this committee's responsibility. And part of the reason I stepped up to join is Ameriscape runs their own show with no oversight by homeowners. Case in point, I saw a broken sprinkler. Put in a ticket, they fixed the sprinkler, but left the feeder line laying there. Put in another ticket, said, why is this line pulled out of the ground, laying across a sidewalk where it could possibly cause somebody to trip? They came out, dead-ended the water supply line. So now in this one spot, there is no water to these landscaping, bushes, trees. So they do things that are good for them. And I think as part of this committee, we need to start being hound dogs and not just ask them to do things, tell them to do things. And
Well,
and I have no issue being one of those bulldogs. I mean, I'm always a result-oriented person. I mean, I spent years in the police department where no excuse was good enough. It always had to be done. And I think Ameriscape needs to be held accountable. Right now, like I said, they've been running their own show and they do what they want when they want. And I don't care if we're not looking over their shoulders closer. I don't care what's written. They're going to do what they want to do.
And I agree. And again, I'm not trying to cast stones on how things were done in the past. We're trying to focus on going forward. And you're right. And that's part of the reason this committee was formed, is to give more oversight to Amerispace, which they need. In their defense, Javier is usually pretty good. I mean, if you put in a ticket, he's usually pretty good. I guess I'm disappointed to hear that you had to go back more than once on the sprinkler issue, but Javier doesn't want to irritate us either,
No,
because, well, I've already called him a couple times on quotes that he gave. It's like, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. And he would just say, okay.
Yeah, I
and
think
then you would get it
I
done.
think they're starting to understand how the process is changing and they are being watched closer.
Yeah,
It's
so
which is a good thing. That's why we're.
we are going to make progress on that. So. Sure.
At the last meeting, now we discussed it again, which confused me. At the last meeting, what I heard and wrote down is that none of the tree stumps were being removed because we didn't have the mapping. In this meeting, I just heard we should start moving forward on it.
When Javier sent in the original proposal, it was for over 100 tree stumps. And I said, show me these tree stumps. And so I rode with him and he pointed out where he was going to take out stumps. Now, some of them were removed from the consideration because they were buried back where they would destroy 3 bushes to try and take out a stump that nobody can see. It's like, leave it, just leave it. And so we were able to eliminate probably 15 stumps that way. About half of what was left was in areas that are up for dispute as to who should be taking care of them. Ravenna Way, a huge area is that pond over by Sienna. As you come into the right, he said, I took care of all that. And it's like, first of all, if you look, it's listed as golf course property. Why would you go all the way around that pond? Scott Charnock told him to. So it's like, you won't touch Ravenna Way or that area until we get clarification on to whether or not we're supposed to be taking care of that. And that's why the number of stumps decreased drastically.
It sounds like we need to push the mapping.
It's
We're
being
pushing- yeah,
pushed.
There's
Trust me.
nothing else that we can do. It's Tony knows the importance of it. He's working on it. He's very, very busy with stuff.
So
Got a lot on his plate right now, but he
What-
knows how.
what he gave me the proposal on is only the area that we seem to be in comfortable agreement that we are responsible for. And that's coming down Pelican Brazil Boulevard, Cypress Grove, Prado, and up to the turn in on Vincenza. Why we have that, I'm not sure, but that was actually color coded on the map. Which I would question that one.
Yeah.
Potentially.
The town center, all the landscaping in the town center.
That's
Who's,
PPCA.
okay.
So to keep things moving here, where on the agenda, what do we
Well,
need to?
We were doing B, and I was going to just do a rough draft.
It's got a hard stop at 10:30.
Yeah, a rough draft on the policy, and I'll send it to Georgia. And
And then we
word,
can comment.
word craft your heart's content, because I'm not gonna put a whole lot just to get it going.
Yeah.
Sounds good. That's what we're here to do, help you.
Maybe just even some starter bullet points on what we
Yep.
want the policy to accomplish.
The direction, gives us direction and we can input.
Right.
I'll just start some.
Yeah.
Don't worry if you basically redo the whole thing. I'm not gonna be offended.
And just a reminder, when you receive something from Georgia, it's gonna be all BCC, so you won't know, but you know it's going to you.
Yep,
But don't respond back to a board member, always back to Georgia, okay?
Okay,
got it.
so that's for the listed agenda items. Two other things I wanted to discuss, and you can talk about one of them a lot better than I can probably, and that's there's a very serious grass problem that's come to light. There will be a teleconference next Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and I will send that information out to you.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a mosaic lethal narcosis virus. It has been around for several years, but now it's spreading pretty quick. The University of Florida is all over it. There, if you go to their website, there's lots of different presentations that you can watch on it. But the bottom line is that it spreads by mowers. The sap on the lawns that are infected by it gets on the tires and the mower blades, and then gets transferred to the next lawn. There are procedures in place for the mowing companies to disinfect their mowers, but you can imagine what an effort that would be in the level that you're dealing with on the staff of a landscape crew. Is it happening? So the bottom line, it's gonna come, and there is no treatment for it. It kills the grass, and it's only occurring in Floritam, what do you use the perfect term for it? It's a made up, it's a hybrid. So there was, and then Mother Nature found its weakness in them, so.
If you think Dutch elm disease,
Yeah.
this is the Dutch
Yeah.
elm disease.
The grass.
Apples and grass, but
So-
one particular type, which is what we use.
And if you go and if you look at the presentations, you can see pictures of what it looks like. It looks a lot like a fungus, and that's another challenge because people are treating it as a fungus and it's not doing anything. So the only thing you can do is remove the grass that it kills and then replant a different strand. Now, the different strand options that they recommend, those come with issues themselves as far as funguses but that doesn't, at least doesn't kill them. They're more challenging to maintain, the other grasses they recommend.
I have a question. As a part of the Carino Landscape Walking Committee, we've been looking at this for quite some time. As a homeowner, when I moved here as a former horticulturalist, I wondered what responsibilities a landscape actually has in maintaining our properties. Are they responsible for maintaining the turf in a high quality, or are they responsible just for mowing? And if any issues arise, we have to pay to finance the.
Well, on the Gateway property, they have a contract, very, very specific contract on what they have to do and what. But I can't speak for their contracts in the HOAs though.
Most of the HOA contracts, they will do fertilization, they will apply insecticide, things like that. Those are all built into your contract, but something like this, pony up the money because that's not in.
Yeah.
So where are we seeing it in the main areas?
I didn't know Pelican was experiencing it. I know we have 3 communities.
Found some area.
I don't know where they're at. I know we have 3 communities in Gateway already that have it. Hampton Park, Hampton Bay. I'm still learning all the names of them, but Hampton something. It's really bad. If you ever want to see what it looks like, that's just take a drive in there. Hampton, yeah. And Magnolia Lakes has it too.
Well, I will send a link if you're interested, and we'll also have this, which is a description of it, and a discussion.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, so I'll send that out.
There's even, I had distributed that to everybody at the last board meeting, and I don't know if I gave it out at PPAC or not. I can't run
I
together.
got this from Bob Gepper.
Okay, yeah, so I gave it to Bob at the supervisors meeting. There's even newer information out since then. So University of
Can you
Florida.
send?
Yeah, I did send it out to all the HOAs.
Okay.
Sometimes that
Well,
doesn't.
Randy did. We did an email blast to every HOA.
HOAs aren't necessarily,
Yeah.
sure.
They don't
We
share.
tried blasting
Yeah.
HOAs with stuff, and they look actually like,
They don't.
anyway.
Oh, yeah, I'll get
So
you
if you
guys.
could send that.
I'll send you the YouTube
to this
videos. One's 3 hours, one's 20 minutes. it's all good information. Now, the 3 hours is a long walk. So,
Okay, so Keith will send that out for us. The other thing I just wanted to bring up, because you may hear something about this, especially, I'm sure Steve's heard about it. There was an area between Palazzo and the golf course over in the Carina area where Jim Torba, who does maintenance, landscaping for the golf course, noticed an overgrowth of invasive species, Brazilian pepperwood, or whatever. And they were huge. And he said it's prudent to try and get rid of that stuff. So he went in and cleaned out a lot of this invasive species. And in so doing, it opened up somewhat. There's still some pine trees there, but it definitely opened up the viewing. And a person by the name of John anyway, in Carina became extremely upset that now he could see Palazzo and there was a light that bothered him. And he's sent this to everybody in Carina. Your board is very upset, and you got Palazzo upset. And it turned out it's actually PPCA property. So Jim Torba, acting as a golf course person, thought it was golf course property, removed invasive species, which
it's a great thing.
it's a good thing, but some people are extremely upset. So if you hear anything about it, we weren't not involved. We're not going to get involved. They are demanding that it be replanted with silver buttonwood and all palm trees and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, good luck with that.
Yeah.
But they are very upset about it.
Well, everyone I'm sure is aware when Heritage bought the golf course from NAR, the boundaries for the golf course were lost. I mean, it was a mess too. There were supposedly, the rumor was there was a swimming pool on somebody's house that was on the golf course community, which I don't think is true. But they really took a long time to determine where the golf course actually is. And apparently they still don't know.
There's some more funny lines out there that I see too, but.
So I just want, if you hear about it, we are not involved in that.
Okay.
And it's in John Zimdar's.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate because a person did a good thing. Not on his own property, unfortunately. It's PPCA property, but the PPCA should be doing that proactively anyway.
Yeah.
So if you hear about it, you at least know something about it to address it.
George just gave me a good reminder. So I don't know if you guys know, but I think we're up to like 5 or 6 of these committees. So we really need to sit down and set a day every month, or you want to do bi-monthly, whatever you want to do. We need to pick a consistent day and time.
I would like to pick once a year. Because
And we were going for the 9th, and it seems like 9 o'clock in the morning, because I know next meeting is March 9th. So I would go
We don't have it on the calendar yet, though.
well,
PPAC.
we usually go for a day of the week.
Thursday.
So it's usually a Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday works for me better. I can step
Thursday
away.
mornings. So we're gonna go with Thursdays,
Does that work for everybody?
which the second Thursday of every month.
Fine for me, better than the first.
Of every month, correct?
Well, this is the first.
This is-
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, you guys pick, but if you can help me,
I'm
the
good
first
with that.
Thursdays are board meeting days.
Yeah, I can't do.
Yeah.
Today?
PPAC is meeting on that day, President Council,
I don't know.
Thursday
Okay.
at 10. No, what time? 9.
No.
Yeah, you want to check and let us know? If it's a conflict with the
Well,
president meeting.
depending on when we finish up, I can walk, because there's only one item I really want to talk about at the president's meeting. So maybe I could just walk over and say, I'm here if you want to throw me back on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, we don't have the official policy approved yet. But. I can let them know
Lighten them,
what we're thinking.
lighten them.
And then as far as the room goes, I don't think it's gonna work.
Yeah,
So-
no.
Now they did set up a new room over here for meetings, so let's shoot for that if we can. I don't know the name of
Which
it though.
one?
Well, I'll show you where it's at on our way up.
Because
Poker room, because it
It's
seems,
much quieter.
yeah, it seems like it's more.
the poker room is much better.
And it wouldn't be used.
To try and get a room here has not been easy. That person now has an assistant, so hopefully their process works a little better because I was not getting any response until I went and sat outside the door and said,
No,
I need you now.
that may be useless at that time of the day.
Yeah, I
Well,
would think so.
Poker.
They were not scheduled for cards, but they were already scheduled for a meeting. Everything was scheduled.
The theater works too, but it's.
It's so huge.
Yeah, this new place they set up here is nice.
So what I will do is I will contact Janine and just say, we would like the poker room for March 9th. And
Or the
hopefully,
meeting, the new meeting, just next door, right?
That's my preference.
okay, the new meet,
Yeah. And then there's a name for it too. I mean, Georgia knows. Hang on, let me get, Georgia, you there?
I am.
Hey, so I don't know if you heard, we're gonna go the second Thursday of every month at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And what's the name of the new meeting room that they have here now? We just moved some other meeting to it.
Oh, let's see.
I think it was safety and security. Maybe we moved to that room. Yes,
The
it was.
Pelican Conference Room.
Pelican Conference Room.
all right.
That's
I will
really
make
went
a
out on a limb with
request
that name, huh?
for the Pelican Conference, and hopefully we're.
That was from Jennifer Lewis.
Jennifer Lewis. Okay, so that's gonna be where we're gonna try to meet if we can. If not, I think our backup's gonna be the poker room.
Okay.
And if that falls through, we're gonna meet at Bennigan's.
Might be a
We
little
can
harder
always-
for me.
We can always do our,
Meet at
board-
Denny's.
we can always do our
Run
boardroom
back to
too.
work.
Our boardroom's typically available on that
Don't
day.
you
so-
retire in like a month or so?
Yeah, I'm not retiring until the end of the year.
Oh, I thought you were coming
No,
up soon.
yeah,
All right.
closer to August probably, which seems like a long time away. Well, the days do, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
All right, so we have the next meeting established.
Do we need the agenda for it?
Yeah.
Or just
Well,
what happens there?
Next meeting, the agenda?
to hopefully we will be able to discuss the maps, but again, that's.
Yeah, update on the mapping.
You mean your next meeting agenda items? Yes.
Yes.
Update on maps. Hopefully you'll have maps in hand.
Review the main policy that we've all got.
Mhm.
So I have a question. Do I have to fill out one of those sheets for every one of these agenda items?
Yep.
There's a form to fill out for each agenda.
It's pretty straightforward, Mark, so, but
It's just tedious.
I know, I have to do it too.
And you have to do it because you're the,
No,
Chair.
anybody. that wants-
anybody in your
Yeah.
subcommittee can do it. Well,
Yeah.
then you need to start delegating some of this stuff around. Just saying.
I'm just trying to get a view on. how
I mean, we can help you. That's
If you
right
want
here,
to,
right?
but you got-
Yeah, that's
you
you then.
want- You want to delegate.
View maps.
Review maps,
And-
update on map.
And the other one. is review.
The main policy that we're trying to put together, the
Policy
The
development.
yep.
for,
policy
landscape
development.
Master plan.
Yep,
Landscape master plan.
that works. That works. And I don't know if needs to be an agenda item, but I'd really like to see a list of the approvals of the monuments and circles. Simple Excel or something.
Okay.
And then, date,
Take the request.
right, so we can at least start tracking what we're doing. Because come August, September, we're gonna have to roll that money over. We're not giving it to the, we're not giving it back now. We're gonna keep it.
We also want to add, update on proposed policy to the P-PAC,
Mark's gonna do that today.
right, as an agenda item, so we know what happened.
Oh, yeah.
What I can do is if we do get, I'm not worried about the 5 that are approved getting done in this fiscal year. But if we are given funds to allow more to do theirs, I guess I would just go ahead and tell them we want it done by the end of this fiscal year. So it's cut and dry,
Good.
start
moving forward.
moving
Yeah.
forward clean.
Yeah.
So
And we did approve the vote for increasing the money?
I don't think we
I don't
took a formal,
I don't think we
made a
did.
You
formal
did not
motion
make
on
a
that.
motion.
I guess I would make a motion that we ask for approval for 8 additional, well, that would
Well,
be
no, you want to make the motion for the money, right?
$20,000 additional funding,
Yeah.
right? 8 times 16,
Yeah,
20,000.
20,000, yeah.
I second that.
So we had total 35, or, yeah.
35,000.
35,000.
I
All,
second it.
all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none opposed, I will request approval for 20,000 more. At today's PPAC meeting. Any other questions, comments? Nancy can get to her next meeting, then you can go back to work.
If you want some help with the forms, I guess Jordan can send them.
Well, 2 of them isn't bad. If we start to get into 5, 6 agenda, and what
Okay.
would be good then is everybody can submit agenda items. They don't have to go through one person.
Yes.
So if
Take
you
that
come
off
up with
of you.
something you would like to discuss, well, I'll have Georgia, or if you'd ask Georgia, just to send everybody the request form.
That would be great.
Yeah, Georgia, I don't know if you heard that. If you could please send out the agenda item request form to all members, please.
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, you want to call order?
Motion for adjournment. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, see you, Bruce. Good luck.
Thank you.
Do what I've done. And that is
Take them over.
become full-time within the community.
Yeah.